Hi, and welcome to another episode of Behind the Scenes and WhyBuy Features, where we take a look at how our video product reviews were filmed, some of the techniques, tips, tricks, things that you can utilize if you're in the director program. If you're new to the channel, or if you just stumbled across this and you're looking for, some advice on how to film these types of product reviews, let's get started.
Hi everybody, welcome to WhyBuy. Today we're going to be talking about the Trek Marlin 7.
So right off the bat, you'll see just in that intro sequence where he says, "Hi everybody, welcome to WhyBuy." Again, all of our videos need that. "Hi everyone, welcome to WhyBuy." Today we're going to talk about this product. Vice versa for the outro. Those are the only scripted moments in our videos. But what's interesting about this plate is we always try and have the product, if we can, in the frame with the customer or the talent. So the idea being is that when people click on a video that they're searching for, they're immediately looking for that specific product. So if you can, try and incorporate it into your plate. Another thing to consider is, just have some depth to your shot. It's one thing that I always try and do if I can, is have background or foreground elements that give that sense of depth. Just adds a little bit more cinematic quality to the product review. So let's take a look at the montage sequence. You may or may not have a drone, but if you have a drone and you're doing an outdoor-based product that you're trying to show the application of it, always try and include it. Give some perspective and context as to where it is that the customer utilizes the product that they're talking about. You'll see at I think it's right here. He's rubbing the fork of the bike because it's all dirty and dusty, and that's because when he showed up on the day of filming, he didn't clean his bike, which, granted it's a mountain bike, it's gonna get dirty anyways, but it's one thing that we try and remind the customers who are bringing their products and they're talking about their products, is just make sure that they're organized and presentable. Take some time and effort to have it, be presentation worthy. And it's not always the videographer's responsibility, but I always keep a rag or something in my bag, just in case something like this happens. And if you want to get a close-up for B-roll, you can wipe it down really quick and make it a little more presentable.
I like to be outside. And in the past, I've always kind of had that, $100 to $200 bike that I've used. And this year, I wanted something different.
So in this buying story, this is an interesting perspective because we're not dealing with someone who is a hardcore enthusiast. He is someone who is kind of an entry-level buyer to higher-end mountain bikes. So when they're talking about their buying story, 100% okay that it's talking about the lifestyle that they have. They can talk about how this is something that gets them from A to B, and they really enjoyed how, it's exceeding their expectations. Really what we're trying to capture is something that's genuine and, relatable.
Experience to do so. So the reason I chose the Trek Marlin 7 is because at that time, that's really all that was available. I waited, I think, a few weeks too long. I knew I wanted to buy a bike, but I thought, I'll go next week. It's still February. But by the time I got there in March, I feel like I missed that window of being able to choose what I wanted by about 2 to 3 weeks.
I'm just gonna pause it at minute 29. He's excellent at delivery. Not all customers to the talent that you're filming are gonna be good at delivering lines. But one thing that I always like to do is, there is a plan, there is, we're gonna talk about these things when you show up, but really just roll camera and kind of jump right into it. It tends to be that first take is really good with most people. They just kind of give it their best and they charge head first. They don't really think too much about what they're saying. It's just like, I know what I'm talking about, here we go. But always shoot, maybe 1 or 2 backup takes if you feel that the delivery was kind of, robotic and just too rigid. It's not always the case, but just make sure as a director that you're taking the time to look at your raw footage as if you were a customer. Does this feel, genuine?
To be honest, I don't know a lot about bikes, and I didn't really feel comfortable going outside of my price range of that kind of $600 mark. But when I talked to the staff at United Cycle, they assured me that this bike would last me a very long time and that I'd be satisfied with it. So I really had to trust the professionals on this because I didn't.
One of the things I just wanted to point out, just at 2 minutes and 29 seconds, what you'll find, I think, in a lot of product reviews when you're interviewing like real customers is everyone wants to reassure the viewing audience that like, I'm no expert and I'm not really sure what I'm talking about. We really do encourage people not to do that. It's okay. You don't have to defend that you don't know absolutely everything and anything about this particular subject matter. It's just, I think it's a confidence thing where people aren't quite sure, ooh, geez, if I say this, am I going to be scrutinized? The whole point of WhyBuy is giving people perspective from other buyers, people who are really like them, relatable. As it turns out, critics and subject matter experts, that's a very small percentage of the people who actually buy these products. The vast majority of us, we want a realistic take. So, when you catch your talent, your customer being like, well, oh geez, I don't really know what I'm talking about here, just tell them like, that's okay. Talk about what you do know, and that's all right. I mean, the bottom line is, we'll be putting in work beforehand to ensure that they have some knowledge and they, not just winging the whole thing. But really, I think on the day of filming, I've come across that a lot where people are always skeptical that what they're saying won't be, taken the right way. And I like to reassure them that like, hey, like, if I were in your shoes and I didn't own this thing and I wanted to buy it, like, I'd like to hear your perspective and just, what are the things that helped you?
The shocks are lockable too, so you can kind of ride it as a road bike, but actually if you push down hard enough, they will still absorb some impact. So let's say you're riding in the city, you can lock the shocks so you won't be kind of bouncing up and down on...
Application-based examples are so important when it comes to discussing the product features, especially in something like this. If they're talking about how one of the product's features and how it benefits the usage of it, it's very important to cut away to B-roll to show that. Now, in this case, we didn't really have the equipment to have a chase cam, for example, because he's talking about locking his shocks so that, the compression stops, so that when he's road cycling versus when he's in the bush and going down, trails, he can unlock the shocks to have that suspension. That's a hard shot to get, and if you don't plan for it, it's very hard to get in the moment. So we just, filmed some B-roll of a side profile, and he's pushing up and down in the forks. But even that is important to have, because if the customer is just talking the whole time, and there's no visual context to go along with what he's saying, you lose interest. It gets boring. There's nothing to break away to help your imagination kind of fill that void of what is he talking about? And you have to kind of improvise sometimes if you didn't plan for it.
Was the gear system. Now this one hasn't think about when I bought a bike was the gear system. Now this one has a single front sprocket and it makes shifting really easily, and I've yet to have my chain slip off at all. Something that I experience quite a bit with other bikes. This hasn't happened once, and I've ridden it quite a bit. One thing I've never had on a bike before is disc brakes. These are Shimano disc brakes, and they have a lot of stopping power. So
you'll see handheld shots, you'll see pan shots, like tripod, drone shots, gimbal shots. I really leave it to our directors to choose what equipment they want to use to help tell the story. Obviously, you don't want to lean too heavily into one piece of equipment the whole time because it can start to get dull and boring. But really, I mean, I've seen people do handheld shots that I swore they were gimbal shots or track shots. If you have a good image stabilization in the camera body and the lens, like, you can really fool the audience into thinking like, wow, this super smooth. And then other times you might want to have that handheld shot for just kind of that warm, feel. Like this family outing, we have, the customer, partner and the son, like just in the same setting, so it suits it. But I leave that to the discretion of the directors, and that's why we choose them so carefully, is we want people who understand how to tell a story visually.
Pretty much right out of the box, the bike is ready to go, and I love everything about it. The only thing that I had to change on it was the seat. So this is a stock seat that comes with the bike, and as you can see, it's...
If the customer has accessories, we always encourage that they bring those accessories, because the likelihood of a viewer who's searching for this product, they're gonna need those accessories. They're gonna want those accessories, and WhyBuy isn't just about doing a product review. It's like a customer's story of, this is what I searched for, I found it, and these are the things, the ancillary products that I needed, that make it whole for me in my lifestyle. So two things to keep in mind is when they have accessories, it's very important that they have them available on the film day, and that you kind of plan how you're going to be showing this. So in this instance, there's a few B-roll shots of just close-ups of the seat that were going to be layered over the dialogue, but you might find that you might want to change your plate for dialogue so that, they're in frame as they're talking about it. It's kind of all in one package, but get creative, but just remember to keep kind of the movement going and changing up the pacing, because this video is, 7 minutes. And if it was just one static dialogue shot the whole time, it'd get pretty boring.
Was very soft, wide, and had some relief down the middle.
This is really important. This B-roll shot where he's talking about it's wide, it had relief down the middle. His dialogue delivery wasn't during this shot. That's in post-production and editing, where I had to match the sequence of what he was saying to what he was doing in the B-roll shot. So one of the things that I like to do is, if I know there's an accessory or a part of the product that I'm talking about, the frame, the seat, whatever it is, when I'm shooting the B-roll, I'll shoot static shots, but then I'll get the customer to interact with it, because when it comes to pairing that B-roll with dialogue, you're gonna be so thankful you have that, because it feels like it's just a continuous take. So yeah, again, interactions, static shots with the product isolated, but also interactions from the customer with the product or the feature that they're talking about.
My favorite thing about the bike is just how aesthetically pleasing it is. As you can see, the brake lines run inside the frame of the bike, and it makes for a real minimalistic look. That paired with kind of the single sprocket on the front gear, like, it's just a very visually pleasing bike.
So here's another good example, 5 minutes and 20 seconds, where the dialogue plate, it's him talking to the camera with the bike, but then the B-roll, I had him interacting with the frame, move your hand up and down, point to these things, and then I can utilize that later. Because it feels like there was two cameras, placed on the same subject, but there wasn't. We just, repositioned and filmed the exact same sequence for B-roll, but he's, interacting. We want to give the audience that feeling of, yes, I'm right there, and I wish I could just see it from this angle and get a little bit closer, Give people what they want to see it as if they were in person.
When I first laid my eyes on it, I hadn't even sat on it, and I was so happy I bought it just because of the way it looks. It's a beautiful bike.
So this is a trick I use a lot. At 5 minutes, 33 seconds, this shot, it actually uses two techniques that I use a lot. So when you're freehanding and you're trying to get smooth movement, shooting at 60 frames a second, and in post-production, reducing the speed, I think it's 40%, gives you 24 frames a second, is fantastic, because you get that slow-mo shot and it's just a smoother movement, and at a higher frame rate it just looks better. So you can see this shot, it's a pan down. I did that movement fairly quickly in real time, but at 60 frames a second, shooting at 24 or reducing at 40%, getting it to 24 frames a second in playback, it makes it usable, and it looks like, a nice smooth shot. And the other thing that I did here is I reversed the clip. So it was much easier to bend down and lift. And so I just reversed that so you have a pan down. So
if you thought this video was helpful, please like and subscribe, show your support, and thanks for watching.
The outro sequences, we always have, you know, extras and outtakes after the end credit logo. And so just keep in mind, if you're including bloopers of the customer, you know, just be respectful. It's good to put stuff in there that's kind of humorous and, you know, some comic relief for the viewers, but we always want to be respectful of the participants in the videos. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm sure I'm glossing over a lot of things. You know, it's this is just really a quick recap. You know, for people who are looking to be directors with WhyBuy and film product reviews. I'm sure there's a lot of questions I'm not answering, or you know, in terms of equipment, gear. I mean, we're fairly active with our community, so leave comments. You know, ask us questions if there's something that you're not 100% sure on. You know, happy to help fill those gaps. You know, and more importantly, if you're a videographer who has a YouTube channel or you're looking to get into it, you know, we always look for new people to work with. You know, we want people to feel like WhyBuy's an easy place to do product reviews and get paid to create them. So yeah, thanks for watching this episode, and we'll see you in the next one. We'll see you in the next one. It's so bad. Yeah, so thanks for watching this episode of what is it? What am I doing? So thanks for watching this episode of the behind the scenes look at whatever this is, Trek Marlin 7. This is a perfect example of. Okay, so thanks for watching this episode, and buy one now, get 50% off. This is a perfect example of why the only scripted parts about WhyBuy reviews are the intro and outro, because they're so hard to nail. And okay, next.